Good morning and welcome everyone. My name is Leah Holtrop and I'll be your presenter today. Because of the change in the inventory management release to August 30th, which is next week, for today's call I'll be walking you through how to manage your qualifications and training qualifications database in the updated SalamanderLive site. I know that we did cover this in our last call last month, if you were on that, but I thought it'd be a great review as well as a great opportunity for us to cover the new qualification verification feature, which will be released this Thursday. I do apologize for any inconvenience. The inventory management training is going to take place next month on September 12th at 10 a.m. Central and September 20th at 2 p.m. Central. In the Salamander bulletin that was sent out last week, you'll find the information on how to sign up for that training. If you did miss the bulletin, you can contact your local rep or you can email me at training@salamanderlive.com and I can get you the invite for the webinar. Now throughout the training, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to use the Skype instant messenger. So I'm going to show you this right here. So in the low bottom there's an IM button. You can click on that and you can type in your questions. I will also be opening up the floor for questions throughout the training, so at that time you can unmute your mic and ask your questions at that time. But at the moment, if you guys can all mute your mic so that we can have as little background noise as possible, that would be great. All right, so here's a quick look at our agenda for today's call. We're going to first take a look at how to access your qualifications and training tree and master list. We'll also take a look at how to organize your qualifications into folders for easy access, how to add new qualifications to your master list. We're going to also take a look at how to set qualification prerequisites, and that's that qualification verification piece. And we're going to talk about the workflow for verifying the qualifications. And then we'll also take a look at how to add qualifications to personnel and equipment records. All right, so first, before we even go into Salamander Live, I do want to first talk about the difference between qualification and training. So in Salamander Live, the term qualification is used to represent a characteristic of a person or a thing. So for example, a person with a CPR certification would have a qualification assigned to their record indicating that they are qualified to do CPR. Same thing like for a piece of equipment, like a generator. A generator might be able to generate 8,000 watts of electricity. In this instance, the qualification of 8,000 watts would be assigned to that generator record. In most cases, a qualification is confirmed by an external review or certification. And we'll take a look at that in a little bit here once we go into the site, because there's different tiers for qualifications. And that's going to be the same for training as well too. On the training side, when we're looking at training qualifications, what we've done is to help you distinguish qualifications from a training qualification. Any qualifications that has a type of education is going to be separated into its own training list. So in Salamander Live, you're going to see, especially for personnel, you're going to see a list for qualifications and a list for training. And what this does is it allows you to review and assign training separate from qualifications to a record. Now, by default, training is not included in the printed tag. So as it is today, all qualifications are printed on the tag. It's usually on the back of the card. Any training that is assigned to an individual is not going to be encoded and printed on the tag. All right, so let me close this out and get into Salamander Live. So for those that may be new to the new updated site, this is the URL to get to the updated Salamander Live site. So you'll see that it's the exact same as it is today for the version 1, except at the end there's a V2 on here. And then just use your same username and password and click sign in. For the purposes of today's training, I'm going to be using our development site. This is a training site that we use. The only reason for this is because the qualification verification feature, which is going to be released this Thursday, is not technically completely published in the live site. So For this reason, I'll be going through our development site right here. So do not use this URL. If you try to log into this URL, it's going to give you that your logins are not found. All right, so once you log in, it's going to take you to your home dashboard. So to get to your qualifications and training, down on your left panel, you'll see qualifications and training. Just go ahead and click on that, and that will take you to your qualifications and training master list database. Now, one thing I want to do note is that adding and managing your qualifications and training database is only done by administrators or those that have access or permissions to manage qualifications. There's 3 different roles in which you have to have assigned. So before I go into here, let me just go through the security users real quick here to show you the process for making sure that the individual that you have managing qualifications has access or the permissions. So security users, select on the user. So right here is where we're going to be setting up the access that they're going to have. So there's actually 3 roles. So there's administrator, admin no security, and resource qual management. All 3 roles that's going to give you access. Hello?
Hey, the font's tiny. We can't read it.
The font's tiny. Can you see it now?
No.
On your Skype screen, you should be able to change your view to actual. So in your Skype window, there's a little button that says actual size. If you click on that, it'll make your screen larger.
Is that good?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Anybody else have issues seeing the screen here? All right. So I'll just go through this one more time. There's 3 roles that you'll need to have in order to access the qualifications and training. Either it's the admin no security, the administrator, or the resource qual management. And then once you select that, then enter the organization in which you want that individual to have access to for managing qualifications. And it can be a single organization, or it can be the parent organization and all its children. So again, it's totally up to you, your organization, your administrator who's managing this, to provide you that access. Once you have access, just click on Qualifications and Training, and that's going to take you into your Manage Qualifications database. So you'll see at the top there's 2 different toggles. So this little sunburst is your qualifications, and then this cap is your training qualifications. So they are managed separately, and again, that's just our way of allowing you to keep your qualifications from your training separate. So if you're familiar with working in version 1 of Salamander Live, you'll notice that this is very similar. This is your qualifications tree, or your tier. So you've got your different tiers right here. You've got your tier 1, which is federal, national, your state tier, your regional tier, your local, and your other. And then down over here is going to be your folders that belong to the selected tier. Now your federal and national folder, this is a folder that is managed by Salamander Live. So any of these qualifications that are listed in this folder and or training is not going to be editable. So that means that you're not going to be able to go into these qualifications and edit your tree, nor are you going to be able to go in and edit that qualifications. Again, this is something that's managed by Salamander Live. And Salamander Live does get these from the FEMA website. So what we've done is we've just imported everything from the FEMA website into our actual list. Now, again, in version 1, there was your list that was on your right side. So instead of doing that, what we've done is we've added a toggle over here that will take you to your actual master list. So it kind of keeps the 2 screens separate, so you can do your qualification tree over here and then manage your list in another screen. Now, what's important about your qualifications tree and how you manage this is is that everything that you put into these different folders, state, regional, local, and other, is what's going to be available for you to be able to select for personnel and equipment. So if your folders over here, your state, regional, local, and other folders are blank, meaning they don't have anything in there, that means that you're not going to have a lot to choose from when you're going into a personnel record and adding qualifications to your people. So that's why it's important for you to go in here and start creating your different folders, organize them, and add all your qualifications that you need to. So for each of these different folders, there's a way for you to organize them. So you can create folders. You can see that these are different folders that we've already added. Let's see if there's one. Here's one. So if you're brand new to Salamander Live and you haven't created anything at all, this is similar to what you're going to see where it's going to say create folder. And all you really need to do is click on that, and then the new folder window is going to open. And all you need to do is enter in the folder name. So we'll just name this as EMT. And then click Save. Once you click Save, your folder is now created. Once a folder is created, if you right-click on it, you'll be able to pull down some additional options. So you can create a brand new qualification right from here. You can edit the folder, you can delete the folder and all its content. You can add a new folder, which will add a subfolder to this folder, and then you can move to the top. And what this does is that if you created a subfolder, which I'll do right here, it's going to create a subfolder. Now if you right click it and select move to top, what that's going to do is that's going to move that folder out of the EMT folder and it's going to make it a parent folder. So that's what that option does. One thing that you can do on here is that when you select a folder, so again, your regular left click, what it does is it activates this field right here, which is a quick add qualification. So if you wanted to add qualifications from your master list, you can do so. There's anything in here. So there's a couple different ones that we have in here. All you can do is type in the qualification description, and then a list is going to populate for anything that matches that. So enter that in, and there you go. Just click on that, and then now it's been added to this folder. Now if you wanted to add a new qualification to this folder, you can do so by right-clicking and then selecting new qualification. The create qualification window is going to open, and this is where you can go in and type in.
If we always need to put full name.
You want to add it.
I don't know if she, okay, so we need to add that to her.
Oh, I can hear someone in the back end. Can you make sure that you have your mic mute? Thank you. Let's say I want to add CPR on here, kind, personnel. So you select your code, your description, and your kind. Again, your code, this can be, especially if it's a state one, I'm sure it's recognized statewide. If it's something that's regional, local, it may be a little bit different. Again, it's up to your organization on the code that you want to put in here. And then just a brief description of what that qualification is. Normally it's the name of that qualification. And then the kind on here. If there's a NIMS type, you can select that from here as well too. If there's none, just enter in none, or if it's other, just type in other. And then click save. And now that one has been added in. So you'll see the description, which is CPR, and then the qualification code, which has been added in the parentheses right here. Now you can also do all of this from your master list as well too. So once you've added a qualification to your folder from this screen, it is also added to your qualifications master list. So let's take a look at that real quick here. So this is your qualifications master list. So down at the bottom, you'll see that we've got 1,215 entries. Yours may be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depends on how many qualifications you've added in yourself. So again, you have the ability to add your custom qualifications in this database. One thing to note on here is the organization. So anything that says Salamander Technologies, that means that's a qualifications that is managed by Salamander or Salamander. Anything that's going to be under your organization, you can filter through the list, and then you'll see that there are ones that you've created by your organization. Or for the organizations that you have, let's say if you've got child organizations, there'll be your child organizations that will be listed here as well too. So on here we've got SalaLive, so that's me. These are all test ones that I've created, which means that these are ones that I can edit and change. So if you, for example, if you try to click on this one right here, the 115-foot ground ladder, you see how you can't really edit anything in here. If I click on, let's say, firefighter 2 or 3, this is the screen that shows that you can edit the information. So at the top here, you have your code and everything. If you want to edit your general information, just click on the general heading, and then you can go in and edit your information up here. Now this is something new that of course we don't have in version 1, that's only available in version 2, and this is the Qualification Verification feature. So this feature is going to be available on Thursday. This feature is available for a price. There is a fee to this. You do have to have the most updated price list in order to, or be on the most updated price for Salamander Live in order to have access to this. So if you have any questions on how to get access, price inquiries, please contact your local sales rep. So your prerequisites here, what it does is it kind of works similar to the Salamander identity verification feature that's available for the Track app. So what is this feature? What it does is the qualification verification feature performs a check as qualifications are assigned to ensure that the record has all the prerequisite trainings that you as the admin has assigned for each qualification. If the record has not completed the training that you have assigned, then Salamander Live is going to prevent the qualification from being assigned to that individual's record. So this is you going in here and setting those special criteria. So in here, you've got the ability to add specific training that this individual, so let's say this is firefighter 3, is there specific training that this qualification has to have? So for instance, we added advanced ICS on here. So this is a qualification that we added in here. So again, to add a qualification or training, simply type in that qualification in here. So for instance, if we type in ICS, it's going to pull up all the qualifications that's related to ICS. Now in each of these, there's this little info button or info icon. If you click on that, it's going to pull up any details. So on the training side, it really doesn't work as well, only because these are all education based. So there's not going to be any special prerequisites or special criteria for training. But once you get into the qualifications, there's going to be a lot more on here. Let's see if I have one that we have created for training purposes. So animal disease epidemiology. So if I click this little icon, this is going to populate. So this is what you can do for a qualification. So the code, basic information, these are all the prerequisites. So there's introduction to ICS, basic, intermediate, and advanced. And then there's also special criteria. So you see at the bottom here, you can add in special criteria. So this is, anything that's additional, anything that's not actually required, but something that you as the administrator may want to check to make sure that they have before you add in the qualifications. So there's going to be 3 different states in which qualification verification checks, and it's going to be very similar to the identity verification where it will show those 3 states. And I'll show you guys that in a little bit here so that it doesn't get too confusing. But I just wanted to make sure that you understand that you can add these different prerequisites and special criteria and details in here. So again, these are all open text, so you can type in whatever you need to for this. Same thing for detailed description. You have your options on here. And you'll notice that this here you can print off as well too. So you can print this from this screen, or you can print it from the personnel screen as well too. And what this does is, I mean, this is a great tool for you to be able to print this off. Let's say this person wants, or you want to add, or this person has, or wants to add this specific qualification to their record, but however they haven't completed these trainings or the special criteria. You can print this off for that individual and say, hey, here's the additional courses you have to complete in order for me to add this qualification to your record. So same thing, if you're familiar with adding qualifications on the personnel and equipment records, you've got the ability to filter as well too. So if you want to filter by federal, state, regional, local, and other, depending on what you've created. Again, if you haven't created anything in these folders, you're not going to have much. So this is going to pull exactly from your qualification tree that we were working on earlier. So you'll see under other, we have our EMT and fire one. Now you also have the ability to do quick adds as well too. So on your left or your right side here, if you didn't want to search for it, over here you can search for it this way too. So you can toggle between qualifications and training. So if I want to do training and I know specifically which one I want to add, or I still want to search, again you can type in ICS and add it from there. And now basic ICS has been added to this record. All right, going back to our list. So anything that you make on that page will be saved to your list. Let's go back to your qualification tree. One thing I did forget to mention is that you are able to move qualifications from folder to folder. So for example, let's add something real quick here. Let's say, for instance, I added EMTB to the fire folder, and that's not where it's supposed to belong. It's supposed to be, under this example folder. If you click, drag, and drop it into the folder, you can do so. So you can use click, you can drag it, and then you'll see that anywhere that I drag it on top of to is going to turn orange. So this folder is orange. I can drag it right into that folder. Now it's added to this folder right here. So that's something you can do within your qualification tree to kind of manage and organize your folders, your different folders. Now on the training side, it works exactly the same. So to get to the training qualifications, just click on that little cap and it's going to take you to your training tree. So again, you'll see these are the same folders. You've got your federal, national trainings, you've got your state, regional, local, and other. Again, most of these are probably going to be empty, so you yourself and anybody that you have managing your training qualifications database will need to go in here and add in training qualifications. So let's see what we have in here. So these are just ones for examples. So let's do a state one. We'll add a folder, new folder, and then just click save. Right click, we'll move this folder out into its own. And then we can right click and we can add new trainings. So let's say we want to add a EMT intermediate training. You'll see here under kind, there's only one selection, which is education. So you really can't select anything else since we're under the training qualifications section. Now just click save, and there you go. Now you're under EMT training. So that's been added to this folder. So this works exactly the same as what you've been doing on the qualification side of things. Same thing, if you click on the list, That's going to take you to your training qualifications list. Same thing, anything that's under the Salamander Technologies organization is qualifications that you cannot edit. You can click, up and down to sort your qualifications by organization. So SalaLive, there's 2 that we created, training test and EMT intermediate training. So here it is. So any questions so far on how to manage and organize your training qualifications database and or your list and organize your folders? So open this time for any questions. If you have questions and you don't have a mic system, you can type in your questions over here through Skype. All right, no questions. Next, we'll take a look at how to add qualifications to your personnel and equipment records. So all you need to do is click on personnel. So we'll take a look at personnel first. So click to access your personnel list. From there, select the individual in which you're looking to add qualifications to. So let's say we're going to add it to William Garrick. We're going to open up his profile. So down at the bottom here, you'll see that he's got some basic training that was assigned already to his record. So he's got all of the ICS ones, ICS 100, 200, 300, and 400. So for qualifications and training, so this is where it comes in handy if you've got the qualification verification on your account. And I'll pull up the PowerPoint presentation real quick here to see if I've got a, yes, I do. Let me pull this up so you can see. All right, so there's 3 different states, as I talked about earlier, in which the qualification verification will check the qualification which you're trying to add to a record. So when your account has the qualification prerequisite set, when you're editing a personnel record, each qualification selected is going to be checked to ensure that the record has all the prerequisites before allowing the qualification to be assigned. So here is the red state. And this basically is going to populate when the qualification record or the record does not have all of the prerequisites met. So for example, it's going to state, okay, they've got ICS 200 and they have ICS 400. However, they are missing 300 and 100. So this individual is going to have to go in and complete, ICS 100 and 300. If they already completed that, all you need to do is make sure that you add 100 and 300 onto their record, and then you'll be able to add in this specific qualification. Now on the yellow side of things, this may pop up if there is special criteria that has to be reviewed for compliance before this qualification can be assigned. So this is really up to you who is adding these qualifications. It's kind of you owning this process. So it's going to say on here, there's special criteria. So you'll see in here, there's additional training that you've added for this. So there's G300, G400, G701, and there's some experience and some physical fitness and some additional items on here. So it's up to you as the person that's adding this saying, hey, has this person met all of these additional trainings? Do they have the experience? Yes, they're good to go. You can click assign, and it's going to assign this qualification to that person's record. On the green side of things, if this person has met all the qualifications, prerequisites, and they've passed everything, then it's going to say it's been verified, and then they'll be able to assign it. So I'll just walk you through this real quick here. Close that out. So this person has these. Let's try to add that animal disease one. Type it in here. So it's the same thing. You'll see that there's this little icon right here, the info icon. If you click on that, it's going to pull up all the requirements and details for this specific qualification. Again, you have the ability to print for this as well too, especially if this person is missing anything. So we'll go ahead and add that. Just to add a qualification to a personnel record, just simply search for it, or you can do a quick add over here and then just select it. And you'll see that here's the yellow state right here. So it says that, hey, he's met all of these prerequisites. However, there are some special criteria that was added for this specific qualification. Has he met these special criteria? And then you, as a person, can either cancel, said no, he hasn't completed any of these trainings yet, so we're not going to assign that. Or yes, he's completed all this, we're going to assign it. Once you click assign, it automatically adds it to this individual's record. Now, these other ones, I don't think these other ones have anything in here, so just click on this. Nope. So if we add in Animal Case Manager, you see that there's no actual prerequisites. Because of that, it's going to say verified, since there's no prerequisites for this, and now you can assign it. Now let's say that this person did not have any of these, so I'm just going to remove these real quick here just to show you the red state. Okay, so I'll try to add the animal disease one again. And then here's the red. Because and all of those ICS trainings were added in here, that's why the qualification cannot be assigned. One thing to note is that if you add the qualification from the quick add section over here, you're not going to be able to click that little button to print it off. So if you want to be able to print this off for the individual, make sure you're over here on this side, and then you can print it over here once it pops up with that info icon. Populate it one more time right here. So you can only print from this over here on this side. Same thing over here. So for qualifications and training, you can add in training. The same thing. You can search ICS. And no trainings. I don't think we have any actual trainings in here. Let's see. Here's that, apply. There isn't any. We haven't added any. Let's see if we've added EMT. Apply. So I don't think this section is actually working yet. I apologize. This will be working by Thursday, but once you select trainings, your trainings should populate on this side here. So right now, all we have is the EMT intermediate training. So you can add this individual over here. Again, the little eye is going to populate over here. So add in your trainings. Now, one thing I do want to note is that I stated this earlier, is the ability to print your qualifications. So you'll see here under your assigned, you have these little buttons on here. You can collapse it or you can expand it. So if you click the little plus, it's going to expand this. And this is where you can enter in certification information. So if there's a certification number for this, or if there's an issue date or expire date for this, you can enter that in. And then you also have the ability to encode this onto the person's printed tag. So if you click on this, this is automatically going to be check marked. But if you didn't want this printed on their tag, just uncheck that and it's not going to print it on the tag. You'll see for the training side, there isn't an encode button over here. So that basically just means that it's not able to be printed on the tag. However, you do have the ability to add in the certification number, issue, and expire date for this. One thing to note on here is this is going to be great, especially if you're managing your qualifications. If there's training on here, there's any qualifications that they have to renew every 2 years. For instance, CPR, if they have to renew that every 2 years, you can put an expiration date on that. And what will happen is that once the qualification is near expiration, it's going to appear on the home dashboard. So I'm going to show you that real quick here. So on the home dashboard, there is a tile called Quals, and it's probably all the way at the bottom here. Here it is. So here's your Quals tile. So this is going to list any qualifications or training that has expired or is expiring. So this works exactly, if you're familiar with working this in version 1, it works exactly the same. Each of these are clickable links, so right now there's none that are expiring within the next 7 days. However, there is one that has been expired in the last 30 days. If you click on that, it's going to pull this up and say, okay, Kelly Wirt has a qualification that is expired. Here it is, HMA. If you want to go in there to the record, just click on the record name. It's going to pull you up into their personnel file, and their hazmat awareness is what was expired. So you can click on the little plus button to expand it. You'll see that it expired 2018 July. So if there's any trainings or anything that you have to take in order to renew this, all you need to do is enter in a new expiration date, and then it's going to be this notification is going to be removed from the home dashboard. So again, the home on the home dashboard, the quals tile is going to list all qualifications and training. So it doesn't distinguish between a qualification or a training. It's all going to list it all on this particular tile. Any questions so far on adding qualifications to a personnel record? Okay, I see a question on here. Does the system now allow for the upload of certificates as an attachment to assigned qualifications? So yes. So on the personnel record, and this will be for equipment as well too. So William Garrett will go back to his record right here. So here's this document section. So this documents, the ability to upload documents, again, that's part of the newest price list. So if you don't have this, you're on an old price list, please make sure you contact your local sales rep for a price inquiry. Now there are some limitations to the number of documents that you can upload. So even though it says on here that, you know, it's limited to 5 megabytes per document, there is a data limit size for the number of actual data limit for the entire site itself. So again, I don't know what those specifics are. You can contact your local rep and they can go through those numbers with you. And then depending on what your needs are, you can purchase how much data you need in order to store all of your records. But here you can click to add documents. You can drag and drop it in here. So if, for instance, this person has their certificate from their EMT immediate training, you can upload that certificate right here. And again, that just works as a way for you to say, hey, I've got proof that this person has the correct qualifications and training. Here it is. This is also a way for you to upload anything, especially if they're a driver or something. You can add in driver's license information if they fly around a lot, for traveling a lot, for emergency response. You can put in their passport, any information that you want to upload on here. Again, the only limitation is the number of files that you can upload to your account. Let's see here. Next question is, could training CEUs towards a qualification be tracked? Again, yes, it's totally up to you to enter that training, all those training CEUs in your training database. So under your training database, you'd have to go in here and manually add those in. So if you manually add those in, either if it's a state, regional, local CEU, so continuing education, if you wanted to add that in here, you definitely can do so. You just have to create that actual record in here. So if I wanted to put it, I want to create a folder called click save, go to top. Once you create your folder, then this is where you can go in and start adding in all those different credits. And then once you add those credits here, then within your personnel, when you go back to your personnel record, you can add those additional credits to that person's record. So yes, you can do that. It's just the work in which to create that. Any additional questions on this? All right. Let's take a look on the equipment side. So on the equipment side, so let's go ahead and just select this truck real quick here. So your qualifications tree and your list is your same one, either whether it's personnel or equipment, it's going to be all in your same list. So down at the bottom here, you click qualifications, it's going to pull down this section where you can add in your qualifications. Same as on your personnel side. The only difference is that it's only qualifications. Of course, equipment doesn't have any training that's related to that. So you're not going to be able to add any training to qualifications. But it works exactly the same. You can search on here for a specific qualification, or you can quickly add it over here. So on here, these are qualifications that we've added to this particular record, and then we've encoded, we checkmarked it to have it encoded. Most of these, if there's any sort of expiration date on here, there really isn't any, but if there are any for a piece of equipment, you can add that in from this side as well too. So again, you can search, you can filter your list. I don't think we added anything that was actually qualification based for equipment to our tiers. So if I search something in here, it's not going to populate. But, oops, sorry about that. I can type 1,000. Nope, nothing. There, see, now a couple different items have populated. Because we don't have anything within our other folders, you see why it only pulls up tier 1. Because our other folders have absolutely nothing. And we didn't create any actual qualifications, especially for equipment, in any of our other tiers, or tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. So that's why nothing populates on here. But if your qualifications database is, you've added a bunch of different qualifications to that for equipment, that all will populate in here as well too. And you'll be able to find them a lot easier in this way. All right, any questions on adding qualifications to equipment? Pretty simple, pretty easy. Now, the final thing I want to go over on here is that in your actual list, so this is going to be for personnel and equipment, there is a way for you to list your qualifications. So on here, there's a qualification column. So if you don't have this column, all you need to do is click on the Edit Columns icon, which is going to be in the top right of your personnel or equipment list. Click on that, and then you more than likely it's going to be hidden on here. So you, of course, ours is visible, but you would go down. Everything's in alphabetical order. Just go down to Qualifications, Queues, click on it. It's going to add it over here, and then click Done. And what that's going to do, now this qualifications, what's going to do is going to pull all the codes for any qualifications and training qualifications. So it does not distinguish between a difference between the two. The reason for this is that on the back end for Salamander Live, whether it's a training qualification or a regular qualification, all of that, it's in one database. However, for the front end side of things, we've separated out into those different tabs. Again, it was just a way for us to help you out in organizing your different folders so that you can easily find them and select them and add them to your people. So I do want to mention that on here. So it's going to list all of the qualifications. Again, it lists them by their code. Now, one thing to note, in a future release, right now there isn't really any qualification type reports that's available. So under here, this icon right here is your reports icon. If you click on that, there really isn't any reports available. for personnel, equipment, and or your event types. For events, there's a bunch of different reports, but there's none that are really towards qualifications. That is something that we are working on. But if there's anything that's very specific to qualifications that you want, you can send that feedback to training@salamanderlive.com, and we'll make sure to send that over to our development team to see if that's something that's possible. So we are looking at feedback for how we can improve the site. So if there's anything that you feel that would be beneficial or useful for your organization, if we had, please feel free to send those over to me. Question on here, is there any way to show equipment that is temporary out of service? Okay, so that is actually part of our inventory training. So I guess I can talk a little bit about that, but again, that's not going to be released until next week. But I will go over that real quick with you on here. So under here, if you go to your equipment list, let's say you select, let's go ahead and select on that piece of equipment again. So this is going to show, it's just going to show on here available. So this inventory status, it's always going to be set to available on here. Now this status is controlled by the inventory app. So that's that new app that's coming out next week. And within that app, when you issue out equipment and when you return equipment, you can return that equipment as out of service or missing. And depending on what you select on that, the inventory status is going to change. So if you do change that to out of stock from the inventory app, this will, or I'm sorry, out of service, this inventory status will state it as out of service. Now there is some future development on this where you will be able to mark the inventory status for a piece of equipment or item from Salamander Live, but that's going to be in a future release. So that is something that we have in the horizon, just not right now for this current release. Any additional questions on qualifications and training, anything that we've covered, something that you want me to go over again, something wasn't clear on, please let me know. So I'll open up the lines for questions. You can unmute your mic if you have a question that's specific to qualifications of training. All right, no additional questions. One thing I do want to show you all is Salamander University. Not all of the videos have been updated yet or uploaded. Most of those will be uploaded this Thursday. But in here under Salamander Live, there's going to be different folders that you can access and you can go through and you can click on. So we do have managing expired tags and qualifications in here. There will be a video, and that's not going to be posted until next week, on how to create qualification prerequisites and how to and the different states for the qualification verification feature. So that's going to be coming out next week. There's also, if you go into your create edit personnel records and equipment records, that is going to walk through on how to add your qualifications to your personnel and equipment records. So that's where that is at. There also will be a user guide that will be out hopefully this Thursday. If not, it'll be out next Thursday. And that user guide will have all of the inventory in there, as well as all of the features for Salamander Live, the updated site. So that's going to be under documents right here, under user guides. So currently this one is not the most updated one. So save this to our desktop. Save. Let me just pull this up. I don't think it's the most updated one. Yep, so this is for version 2. So I'll make sure that we get the most updated user guide out there for you so that you can go through everything. So on here, this does not have, if I can move it over. So this is for version 2, so this is the updated Salamander Live site. However, it is missing the inventory management piece. So again, that's that one piece I was telling you that will not come out until next week. So this is the most updated, but it's not going to be as updated as the one that will come out the following week, which will have the inventory management piece and components in there. But if there's anything that you want to go through and you want to review, go ahead and review this user guide that's available for download. All right, any other questions?
Leah, this is Brendan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
This is Brendan with Midwest Card. I just wanted to interject just one quick topic. For many of the people that are on this call, they participate in what we refer to as statewide initiatives using Salamander Live. So for the items that Leah demonstrated, this demonstration was for version 2 of Salamander Live. There will be a formal migration to version 2. So using examples like Colorado and Iowa and Missouri, South Dakota, Kansas, there will be a formal migration to version 2 where there'll be further trainings and exercises using these new feature sets. But certainly you can log into version 2. It is active at this time. I just wanted to further confirm that there will be a migration path to this newer feature set.
All right, thank you, Brendan.
Yep.
Yes, yes, it really is all dependent upon your organization. Some organizations are currently working on the version 2 site already. Some are waiting for a formal migration, as Brendan noted. So again, if you're unsure on which site you're supposed to use, please make sure you speak to your administrator, so your account administrator, which should have the information of whether or not you're moving over to the V2 site or if you're currently working on the version 1 site. Now, there is no actual closeout day for version 1. We've got both running at the same time, so you are able to work on version 1 and on this updated site at the same time. The only difference is that there's a lot of new features that's available in the updated site that's not available in version 1. So if you are using version 2 here, the updated site, and you're adding in different things for features that don't exist in version 1, if you go back to version 1, those items will not be there. For instance, uploading documents, the ability to add prerequisites to qualifications, that's all, updated site features and not version 1 features. So, all right, thank you, Brendan. Any other comments, notes, questions on what we've covered? All right. In Salamander University, all of our webinars are recorded, so they will be listed right here. If you want to go back and review anything that's older, we do have them on here. We did remove any of the Series 1, which goes through Salamander Live version 1. If you wanted to review those videos are located in the version 1 site. But in this updated site, we only put in anything that's more particular for this site here. So this here, you'll find all of the different trainings that we've done so far. So last month we did navigation and administrative setup. If you missed that and you want to review that video, you definitely can do so by clicking on this. It's just a YouTube link, which will take you through what we covered last month for how to set up your Salamander Live site in the updated site here. So that's going to be all administrative work. All right. Same thing like always for our webinars. After this, you're going to receive a evaluation. It's going to come through your email. If you can please complete that for me, that would be great. Any kind of feedback would be appreciative. If there's any specific topics that you want us to cover, let us know. We do have our topics lined out for the rest of the year, and a lot of it's going to be more towards the updated Salamander Live site as well as the inventory management feature. So again, that is going to come up next month. So again, if you want the links for that, please send me an email and I'll send you the invites for that, or go back through your customer bulletin that was sent out last week and you can sign up for that webinar at that time as well too. But I highly recommend you guys be on for that call. This is a new feature that we're extremely excited about. There's tons of different things that's new for the inventory management piece, and I'd love to be able to show you guys and walk you guys through that feature as well as the inventory app. Other than that, everyone, thank you all so much for being on the call today. Really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk with you guys next time. All right, take care.